Hello, hello. Welcome back to Peak Northwest, an outdoors and travel podcast by the Oregonian and Oregon Live, dedicated to the adventure and exploration of our beautiful Pacific Northwest. I'm Jamie Hale.
And I'm Chiara Profena. Together we take you to some of the most beautiful and interesting destinations in our region, discussing where to go, what to do, and places to see. And today we're taking the boat to Astoria, in one of Oregon's best car-free travel options.
That's right. While most people choose to drive to Astoria, I think that's generally the most accepted mode of transportation there, and a few people might take the bus. Travelers can apparently also get to the North Coast town along the Columbia River, as in on the river itself. And I'll be honest, this is not something I ever even dreamed about, but now that I know about it, I'm kind of obsessed with it. So here to tell us all about this new car-free adventure is, once again, Lizzy Acker, a reporter on the Life and Culture team here at the Oregonian Oregon Live. Lizzy, thanks for joining us.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Lizzy, we were just so interested to hear about this journey, and I think it was something I never knew existed either. So you are kind of a car-free travel enthusiast, is that right?
I don't like to drive. That's just like a personal preference, but also I uh, I care about the environment. I'm trying to cut down my fossil fuels, and I so I'm always looking for ways to get places without driving. I think it's a lot more fun. It's like a lot more pleasant. And in this case, I did not go with my child, but if I go with my child places, it's just like a lot more pleasant to not be driving. So, for lots of reasons, but yeah.
So you've obviously done a lot of like train travel, you've done bus. We've talked here in the podcast a couple different times, I want to say, about some of your different car-free adventures. Tell us about this boat trip to Astoria. How did this first get on your radar?
Well, I'm a Portland Spirit. I'm on their list because Portland Spirit is a like I guess you'd say like a cruise company that generally goes on the Willamette and the Columbia near Portland. And they do lots of different types of cruises, usually with like a meal. And around the holidays, they have this thing called the Cinnamon Bear Cruise, which you guys should probably get someone on here to talk about that because it's really fun. Basically, people dress up in costumes. It's very fun for kids. There is a titular cinnamon bear, a person in a costume. Um, we go on that every year because my daughter like loves it. And so I'm on their email list. And they sent out an email saying, time to sign up for they twice a year take the boat from Portland on the Willamette in Portland all the way to Astoria. And I was like, yes, that I again had never occurred to me. I mean, obviously it's possible, we know that Portland and the coast are connected by waterways. And I have spent lots of time on the Willamette. I have spent no time on the Columbia though, and I just thought, what a cool idea. So I immediately pitched my boss. It was like, hey, it's not cheap, so had to get the okay on that. It's like $220 about per person. It's a full day trip. So you start in the morning in Portland and you end in the evening in Astoria. So, and there's food. There is a historian who gives a lot of context along the route, which was very cool. So I think people might be like, wow, that's expensive, but it's not really for what you get. It didn't feel expensive to me. And in fact, Portland Spirit told me that they pretty much just break even on this cruise. That's the reason they only do it twice a year because they can make a lot more money, taking that boat out 2 times a day, whatever, and having people pay for individual cruises like that. So it's much longer than their regular cruise.
Yeah, it sounds like you get like a whole history lesson on top of meals, on top of like a fun little cruise ride down the river.
Yeah.
And
amazing views and like, the history of the Willamette and the Columbia these rivers are so crucial to our state, the history of our state, the history since white people came here, but long, long before that, this is what these rivers are like, what life was organized around for a lot of people who lived in Oregon.
Yeah, so you said it goes twice a year.
Twice a
What
week. Yeah.
what seasons? Is it sort of like twice in the summer, or like when are those couple times?
It's the shoulder season, really. So it's like I went in May, and the other one's in October. I would love to go in October. I bet it would be
Hmm.
really cool. It was kind of cold the day we went, but I mean, not terrible, but like not like I want to sit out on the deck for long periods of time. Um, Again, this is Oregon, so it could be really warm in May. It could be cold. It could be rainy in October. Maybe not. Um, the October cruise is already sold out, but you can get on the waiting list. And one of the really amazing things about this trip is that I was at a table with just like people who were there by themselves, and I made all these friends. And one of the people at the table with us had been on the waiting list, and gotten in like that week. So I recommend if you are like really want to do this, get on the waiting list because it's possible you'll get a spot.
And so it starts in Portland, obviously, and ends in
Mhm.
Astoria. But can you take us along that route? How long is it? Where do you go from Portland to Astoria? What's kind of the trip like there?
Yeah, you start at I think it was like 9 in the morning. As a transit enthusiast, and because we have one car in my family, and I just don't like driving. I took, plus I think you should take the bus. It's great to take the bus.
Yeah.
Anyway, I took the bus from my house, and actually, this extra special for me because I love all like the different kinds of transit. So I was like, I got to take the bus to the streetcar, and then the streetcar stop that I needed to get on is like right by Crema, and the streetcar is granted like very rare. It comes like every 30 minutes or something, even on a weekday morning. So I was like, oh, I get to get a kickstart at Crema, my favorite breakfast sandwich. Wait for the streetcar. Anyway, so I took transit to the dock, which generally, most of the time, Portland Spirit picks up on Salmon Springs on the west side of the Willamette. For this, they start by OMSI on the east side of the river. But very close, just on the other side of the river. Yeah, so about 9, got on the boat, and then it just goes through downtown Portland, goes the direction of towards St. John's, north. I know directions.
You got
So
there.
yeah, I got there. I was like, let me just go through all of it. Yeah, so it goes north on the Willamette, and which is fun because you go through downtown, you go under the bridges, and it was like a nice day. And then under the St. John's Bridge, which was very cool. I don't know that I've done that before. Gone under the St. John's Bridge, and I was like, I got out on the one of the decks for that. Like, oh wow, it's a very cool. I mean, it's I think it's probably Portland's most beautiful bridge. Not
Oh
to
yeah,
start a controversy,
best bridge in
but
Portland, easily.
I don't think it's the best bridge. I think it's the most beautiful bridge.
Okay, we can agree to disagree.
It's definitely my favorite bridge, just because I lived over there for so long. So
Yeah. It's really pretty. It's like not my favorite to go across, just
No.
like in a car or on a bike. But to look at, for sure, it is my favorite. And to look at from underneath is like a whole new perspective, and it's amazing. It's very cool. Also, it's when you're on the river, you're like, oh yeah, this bridge is so much higher up than the other ones. There is no lifting up the St. John's Bridge. You are very high up there. Anyway, so then if you know how the rivers work, the Willamette and the Columbia meet up. You get onto the Columbia kind of near Sauvie Island, and then you're on the Columbia for the rest of the day. So most of it's on the Columbia, but yeah, in the beginning is you start on the Willamette, and then you go past all the things. There's not like major cities, but you see little towns. It's cool to see Sauvie Island, I think, from the water. And Oregon is gorgeous. I don't know if you guys know this. So.
Yes. Famously so.
Famously, that's one of our things. So, and there were people there who I think were just there for photos and to see the birds. And I didn't see any sea lions, which also is kind of strange to me because previously my Astoria experience was like sea lions everywhere. Even in Astoria, I didn't see sea lions. I was like, I don't know what's going on, but someone I was with saw a sea lion in the river. There were eagles, lots of birds. And as you get closer and closer to Astoria, I mean, once you get like to the coast, basically, the river opens up. It's this massive bay. Then the boat, on the trip, we were like going by some fishing boats. And in Portland, there's boats bigger boats that are being worked on and stuff like that. But when you get to the bay, it's like the big container ships.
Mm-hmm.
And we saw, the bar there is very dangerous. They have bar pilots that like help the ships get over the bar. I think it's called the Graveyard of the Pacific.
Yes.
It's a dangerous crossing. So we saw a person like on a little boat go up to a massive boat, then climb up a ladder on the side to get it. Like the bar pilot boat has to climb up a ladder on the side of the shipping container. Anyway, there was just like never a time when there wasn't something interesting to see. And then there's like great food on the boat. Like I said, I made friends. My team won trivia, which I'm really proud of. And yeah, then there's this historian who's giving context, and the historian was great. She also talked a lot about, Native people who lived in Oregon, and it wasn't just like Lewis and Clark, though, Lewis and Clark is also a big part of that trip because they were looking for a way across the country on the water and did not succeed, but they did get on the Columbia. So,
and
yeah.
So you've been on the Portland Spirit before, you said, for a couple different times. How did this differ? Like, what were the biggest changes between the like onboard experience?
Well, I've never gone by myself. Well, yeah, I've never really gone by myself. I've gone with other people every time, so I have not really had I can't say for sure that, you wouldn't have the experience of making friends on a boat, but since you're on the boat for so much longer, it's like, it's a full day. We, developed rapport. I have phone numbers of multiple people that I met on that boat. The food was better, which I think after I wrote my story, I kind of in my story mentioned that I never ride the Portland Spirit for the food, and on this trip, I found the food to be like good, especially I had steelhead for lunch, which I like. So it's like, oh, it's from the Columbia, and I'm on the Columbia. I'm eating something that used to live in this river, but it was really good. And someone from Portland Spirit emailed me, and we're really working on our food service, so maybe that's a thing that's improving, honestly. But like every other Portland Spirit I've been on, the service is really good. The people working on those boats are working really hard, and they're great. And the boat is, I don't know what year it's from. It's not like a brand new boat. It's not like super fancy, but it has a nice vibe.
So it sounds like this is like less ferry and more like day cruise, if you
Yeah,
will.
I think so. I mean, I don't know how fast you could go on that route on the river if you were going top speed or whatever. Obviously, it takes max a couple hours to get to Astoria from Portland. If you take the bus, it's maybe going to take you. I took the bus home, and I took what I did was so they have buses that will pick people up when they land in Astoria and just go straight back to Portland, but I stayed the night. So I did not take a bus directly back to Portland. I took the Points bus, which is like an Amtrak, basically, bus, and it takes longer. It takes a couple hours to get from Astoria to Portland because they stop along the way. So yeah, you can get from Portland to Astoria on transit in a couple hours. I do not know how fast it would go if you could go as fast as you could on the river. But this is most people are not considering it transportation, though I really think it would be an amazing, like it should be, and there should be more options. Like I really, it's just such a cool way to travel, and it's really like a way to connect with the history of our state. I don't know. I was thinking about this on the bus back. like you're driving over the mountains. It's great, whatever. But roads are so unnatural, and I get so car sick. And I'm just like, man, I wish I could go on the river more because it's just pleasant and yeah. It's so funny to me. I don't know if you guys have this experience. It's like we live in the city that is defined by rivers, and yet most of people are never go on the river.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that that there's a whole project. I'm trying to think of the name of Willie Levinson's project that is about getting people into the river to swim, which I think is great. But it's like it's not just for not just swimming. Like
Human Access Project.
yeah, Human Access Project. Thank you.
This boat only goes one way, correct? From Astoria to from Portland to Astoria. So why does it only go one way? Do you know? I mean, they're taking the boat back, right?
Yeah, we were asking. I think there's labor laws involved. So they used to do it. So they'd go to Astoria because also, again, it takes the whole day. So they would go to Astoria, and then people would spend the night in Astoria, and then they would go back the next day. And I don't know why they exactly stopped doing that, but what they said they had to do now is that like the whole crew takes a bus back to Portland, and a full new crew gets on the boat to take it back to Portland overnight. Because people can't work that many hours in a row. There's like laws. We have laws in this country, which is great. And I think again, it's financial. They basically told me they break even on this trip. It's very popular. It sells out. It always sells out, but like, probably they're just not able to get the number of people on, which is too bad. Like, I mean, even if it was faster and didn't have the narration, I think that like there's a market for ferries. I wish there were more.
Well, it sounds like, so what you're saying is that this boat, this cruise, the idea is you go up to Astoria through the day, and then you come back and you get back into Portland at night. So it's a day trip, right? I love it that you sort of said, let me take a night in Astoria and actually enjoy this while I'm out here, and took a separate bus back. But that, of course, opens up the door to there being all kinds of ways this boat from Portland to Astoria could be one leg of a much larger car-free experience on the Oregon coast.
Totally. And, like I said, I took the Amtrak bus, which cost, I want to say it was $20 one way, and that was the expensive ticket because I wanted to be able to change. I did have to like change the time I was going back because of childcare. But I think if you get like a non-refundable ticket, it's like $17 one way for the Amtrak bus, but that's just one bus that's available. There's a whole new bus that started Memorial Day that takes you to different points on the coast. There are city buses that connect parts of the coast. I would love to do a longer trip where you go like spend the night in Astoria. Astoria is so cute. There's great food. To me, it's like not the coast though. I grew up in Corvallis, and I'm like, this is a really cute, like historic town. Where's the beach? So like I would love to take the bus, further down and then further down and further down. And then you could even you could go as far down as you wanted, and then you could go inland, take the bus to Albany and take the train back, or, Eugene. That'd be great because the best part of the coast is Yachats and Florence and Newport, so, sorry. The best part is every part, but,
It's all good.
Yachts is the best.
I tend to agree.
But yeah, you do have to, it takes, the thing with transit, like going by transit, is it takes a little more planning. It takes a little extra thought, but I maintain that ultimately it leads to a much more calm trip, like a much more relaxing trip. Driving to the coast is not fun and it's dangerous. But if you can let go of that part of the anxiety and okay, maybe I'm the only person who gets anxious driving, but I will say, like, when I took driver's ed, I had to drive to the coast, and I have not lost that fear. Um, but yeah, you can take the bus, and it's so doable and so affordable. In Astoria, the points bus, which I took, goes 2 times a day from Astoria to Portland, once in the morning, once in the evening, and it stops along the way. Like, you could just take it to Gearhart or something and hang out there for a little while. Take another bus down the coast, and I highly recommend it. And I would love to do that. The last time I talked to you, we went to Cannon Beach on the bus,
That's
and
right.
that was awesome because, again, I had a little kid with me at the time, so I like entertaining a kid on a long drive while you're in the front seat and they're in the back seat is like, oh, it's so frustrating. Um, and these towns on the coast are so walkable. Most of them, everything is just like within walking distance anyway. Um, and parking in Cannon Beach is a true nightmare if you're just going
Hmm.
for a short period of time. So take the bus. Trust me. The annoyance at the outset of like having to like do things on a specific time is erased by the ease of travel.
And so you were in Astoria for just a little bit, just overnight, right? So
Yeah.
what did you do while you were there?
Well, it was really lovely. It was like a Wednesday night, so there's nobody around. They have this river walk, so I was able to basically, walk from where it was like I think a little over a mile from where the boat docked. I was shocked. I think I was the only person who did this. I'm pretty sure I didn't see a single other person not get on those buses. I was like, bye guys. They had a bunch of big buses. So yeah, I just walked to this hotel called okay, is it Bowline? Bowline? I don't know.
I would say
Bowline. I
bowline,
said Bowline, but when they checked me in, they said something else.
bowline, perhaps. I don't. It,
Bowline.
it sounds like a
I don't
nautical
know.
term.
It's a nautical term that I'm
Yes.
mispronouncing. So it's spelled Bowline. Uh, Sweet little spot right on the water. They have barrel saunas overlooking the bay. They have uh, a my favorite thing in a hotel is a hot water boiler, a tea kettle. It's one of my top
Hmm.
top items in my home. And if you have it, I'm not a coffee drinker, so I'm like, please consider the tea drinker. They have like a tea, like lovely teas. Um, then I went to, I think it's called Fede, Italian restaurant. Again, like steps. I was just like walking like a few, like less than a block. Um, had delicious spaghetti carbonara, a glass of wine. On the boat, people were drinking and not me. I was like, I need to stay sharp for this story.
You're
I can't even
reporting.
have one. Yeah. I mean, I feel like while you're doing this kind of story, you could have a drink. It's not like the end of the world, but I'm like, I don't want to fall asleep on this boat. I need to be awake. So that's when I had a glass of wine at dinner. It was really good. Um, and there was a tiki bar that I really wanted to go to that was closed, and actually it was lucky because I was at this point so full. I'd been eating all day on this boat. I had a pre-breakfast and then like ate all day on the boat. And I was like, I don't think I can make it to this tiki bar, but it was closed, so that was lucky for me. Um, yeah, and I went and sat in the sauna, and the bed was so comfy. Had some chamomile tea. It's like amazing. And I didn't have to worry about where a car was or driving a car. I really think in Astoria, there's a few things that are a little ways out, the column. You could still get to it though. You can walk.
It's a little tricky to walk to the column from downtown. I think
Yeah,
it's like
probably.
along some like neighborhood streets with no sidewalks.
Yeah.
But there's a trail that goes up there.
Yeah.
And there's a lot to do in Astoria. I mean, as you
There's
said,
a
very
lot.
walkable town. There's so many
Mhm.
restaurants. There's so many little
Yeah.
shops. There's a place, I want to say it's called like the Weird Sisters Freak Boutique. It's like a little
Yeah.
basement shop with weird stuff in it. I mean, there's all kinds of like great vintage stores.
Yeah, they
Uh,
had like a sewing store. I was kind of sad because I got there at like 6, so most of the shops were closed and it's Wednesday off season. Um, and then had to leave in the morning. because of childcare. But because I was like, oh my gosh, there's all these shops that I haven't been into that I hadn't been to Astoria in like 5 years or more. Yeah. 6 years maybe. I was like, oh my gosh, Astoria's got such great stuff. It's so cute. And I went to the Blue Scorcher in the morning, which was
Mm-hmm.
great. But then I was like, oh, they have a broder here. You know,
Mm-hmm.
they have a lot of great stuff. And you could easily spend a full day and take the later bus back. And then I didn't even plan this, but the bus station was truly across the street from the hotel where I was staying. So I didn't even have to be like, oh my God, when am I going to miss the bus? You know, because I could have seen it out my window and then walked to it if I wanted to.
It kind of sounds like the way to do this is like 2 nights in Astoria. You take the
Yeah.
boat up, you spend 2 nights there, then you have a full day to
Hmm.
do all the shops, all the things, and then you get dinner at a different place because there's so many places to have dinner in Astoria. So you get like
Yeah.
2 dinners and then take the
Hmm.
bus back in the morning. I
Hmm.
mean, this is like a great way to do Astoria. Although,
I
so
think so.
it because the boat only goes a couple times a year, is it always
Mhm.
on like a Wednesday?
It might always be on a Wednesday, honestly, because
Yeah,
again, they want to uh, keep their weekends for the money making.
fair.
But you know, I think everyone should take the boat if they can. If you can't take the boat, you can still take the bus. And there are again like multiple buses at this point that will take you there. Uh, I will say, you know, to be fair, when the bus um, starts and ends in Portland at Union Station, um, and not everyone loves to get off the bus there. I can understand that. Um, I was fine, but
Hmm.
there are people that live on the street, like very close to there, and it's a scene.
Hmm.
So if there's, you know, some people might struggle with that, but Union Station itself is totally fine. And if you don't want to like walk to the bus from there to get home, just take an Uber, take a taxi. You're fine. But I do feel like I should be honest about that. I think it's fine, but not everyone agrees with me.
So this is just the latest in your car-free travel adventures. I mean, dare I say the most exciting of the ones you've done? I mean, it's hard to top a boat, but is there anything else you have on your list where you're like, you know, like what can people expect to hear from you on this podcast next?
Okay, well, I could tell you my dream. I have two
Yes.
that I'm not going to get to do for work, but I would love to do if you're listening, bosses. I want to take the train to Vancouver, BC. Um,
Mm-hmm.
like international car-free travel. Hello, amazing. I also want to take the train to Disneyland. I don't think they're gonna. I don't think I'm gonna convince them that that's like a story that I need to do for work. But I do. I have a very busy summer coming up. But if I can, I would like to figure out how to get to Corvallis, which I actually am from Corvallis. I grew up in Corvallis mainly, but the Amtrak does not stop in Corvallis. It stops in Albany. So, and the bus situation, I have to figure it out. I know that people take the bus from Portland to Corvallis because like a lot of college kids go from Portland to Corvallis. But Corvallis, as much as I give it a hard time, it's a sweet little town on the Willamette River, and so I am trying. I'm thinking about doing a car free trip to Corvallis and taking my child who's never seen my hometown. So that's one idea. I also want
Amazing.
to go to Bend. Bend has multiple options um, of buses that you can take to Bend, and I think it'd be a fun summer one, but also a fun winter one. Car free ski trip.
I wish they had a bus that went from Portland to Mount Hood. That is my
They
like.
do.
They do?
I have done this
Hmm.
story, Kiara. Look it up.
Does
Google.
it go like during ski season though, like all the way
Yes,
up?
it's a ski bus. They have multiple buses actually, and the one that I did, Mount Hood Express, you take a bus, basically take a bus to a bus kind of situation. Um, highly recommend, because driving on Mount Hood in the winter is the worst.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's even another more direct, it really depends on which resort you want to go to, but Mount Hood Express goes to Timberline, and then they have another one that goes to Meadows. And I will tell you all about it if you'd like. My dad, shout out to my dad. My parents are probably part of the inspiration for this, because they got rid of their car for the environment, and they love to go places. So they're always like, they're also retired, so they have a little extra time on their hands. But my dad skis like sometimes multiple times a week. He cross-country skis, and he has the whole thing fully worked out. Plus, he's like probably got transit people on speed dial. He's always calling to tell him how to fix it. Because there are problems with it. He once like got stuck waiting for a bus in 20 degrees on the side of the road, and it like never came, and he ended up hitchhiking home.
That's great news to hear. So yeah. I'm glad that we have such a non-car travel enthusiast to share all of these wonderful transportation options that we have here.
Yeah, I want to bring more people in, because the more people that take the bus, the more people that, do these non-car options, the more routes they have, and the more buses they send. And honestly, it's such a great way to travel, even in the city. I love when I can to take the bus downtown instead of driving. Parking is expensive. Driving downtown itself is not that bad, but I feel like there's something about coming home where you're just like, oh my God, no matter what, driving home is the worst. So taking the bus home, it's really fun. It's like always an adventure, and it's also safe. I think a lot of people have this idea that it's like unsafe or something, but especially the bus. I feel like bus drivers, they've got their eye on what's going on. Like if something weird is happening, they will deal with it. So you should feel safe taking the bus.
Well, Lizzy, thank you so much as always. It's a pleasure to hear from you and hear all about your car-free adventures. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for letting me try to radicalize everyone to my point of view here. And maybe we'll get enough people that are like on that waiting list. They'll be like, fine, we'll open up more boats to Astoria. That would be it.
We can only dream.
Yeah.
Well, folks, that will do it for us for today. Until next time, you can watch our videos on the Oregonians YouTube channel and view all of our travel and outdoors coverage on OregonLive.com/travel, as well as HereIsOregon.com.
Please leave us a rating or review if you enjoy the show, and if you want to support this podcast as well as our local journalism, please consider a subscription to Oregon Live. You can find details at OregonLive.com/subscribe. Also, if you're a fan of the show and you're interested in potentially sponsoring it, you can get in touch with our marketing people at advertise@oregonian.com. This episode of the show was produced by me, alongside Jamie Hale and Vicky Connor.
Stay safe and happy travels, everyone. Until next time, we leave you with this 10 seconds of Zen.